Welcome to Fiona's Food for Life YouTube channel, Cook, Eat, Nourish. We've got another interview lined up for you today. Make sure you listen to the end so you get their 3 tips to how you can cook today to become healthier. Please like and comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Hope you enjoy it. Good morning, Catherine. Thanks a million for joining me today.
Great, Fiona. Lovely to be here. Lovely to have nice sun now as opposed to all the rain we had.
I know, fantastic, isn't it? Would you mind introducing yourself to my audience, Catherine?
Sure. So my name is Catherine O'Keefe. I'm quite often referred to as the wellness warrior, and I guess one of my specialist areas is working with women in relation to menopause, perimenopause and so forth. My background is I was in the corporate world for 25 plus years before I went and returned to college and studied alternative medicine and became a qualified homeopath. As part of that, I guess perimenopause entered my life towards my final days in the corporate environment. And when I left investment banking, I started a career writing blogs with My Second Spring, and that kind of led to setting up Wellness Warrior and working one-to-one with women who were kind of struggling with different issues through menopause, and then also working with corporates and workplaces in educating women on all aspects of health and wellness and menopause.
Okay, fantastic. And so you mentioned there perimenopause. Okay,
Everyone loves that.
Can you explain what that is?
Yes. I guess what we always hear about is menopause, and a lot of people think that, you know, they might wake up one day and all of a sudden they're in menopause. In actual fact, it's all about perimenopause, and perimenopause can be anywhere from 4 to 12 years in duration.
Yeah.
And perimenopause is when all the little subtle signs of menopause start to happen. So, you know, you might kind of feel that, you know, your confidence dips a little bit, maybe a little bit of weight gain is coming on, and before you might have, you know, lost weight easily. Now it's not as easy. Your periods start to go a little bit irregular just by simply a day or two, or it might be that your flow changes, they become lighter, heavier. It's not one size fits all. Okay. So really for me it's all about perimenopause. The majority of the symptoms will be at their peak in perimenopause, and menopause itself is actually the anniversary of 12 months without a period. That's really what it is. So everything is you can have premenopause, which is someone who's fertile and can have a family. Then you move into perimenopause, then you move into menopause, and then postmenopause. But the biggest chunk is perimenopause.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is postmenopause then?
Postmenopause, basically your periods have stopped, you've completed menopause, no more periods, and then you're postmenopause, so you're over the menopause.
Okay, so menopause is actually really one day then?
It's one day, at the anniversary, 12 months without a period. What can happen after that is that you could then go another 9 months and a period could happen. You could then go another 18 months and a period might happen, and then they're just gone. It's kind of, you can't say for, you know, how it will happen for any one person, because it's completely different. There's a famous quote by Iris Murdoch where she basically says, there's as many menopauses in the world as there are women. So it's, you know, we're all unique.
Yeah, okay. So at what age would someone need to start thinking about, say, particularly from my point of view, the nutrients and things, and maybe you might talk about lifestyle things, at what age should someone start thinking about so that they're set up for the perimenopause?
I think ideally, I would probably say in a dream state, 40. Now, where the challenges are there is that we are having children later. I had my youngest child when I was 41, you know, so that is the way things are going, for whether it's a decision made or for, you know, fertility issues. But I definitely think once you hit 40, if you're finished with a family, you really need to start thinking about preparing yourself for perimenopause. And that is basically, you know, starting to become aware of what you're eating is so important. And you know, like you, I mean, processed foods, sugar, they're not our friends, and all they're going to do is rob us of nutrients. So I think it's being very, very aware of what you're eating and your lifestyle. So, making sure you've got exercise, whatever that is, whether it's walking around the block for 10 minutes, whether it's swimming, running, yoga, whatever, exercise is so important. But I think it's just really taking time, maybe when you're early 40s, and just say, right, it's going to happen. It's inevitable for all women. So what can I do to prepare myself? And I guess when I do my talks around the country and I talk to an audience, I love it when there's younger women there, because I will say to them, you're going to get this, you're going to nail it, because they're there earlier and they can prepare. And you're also talking about, when you look at the exercise, it's also making sure that you're looking after your bones, and that you're preparing yourself not just for the years of perimenopause, but the years after, because we're living longer, so we've got to make sure that we're keeping ourselves as healthy as possible.
So from the food side of things, you're saying avoiding sugar and processed foods.
Caffeine.
Okay.
I would probably see caffeine as one of the biggest issues I come up with when I work with women, where that either it will have a direct impact on hot flushes, on a lot of the symptoms, on anxiety, so a lot of the symptoms of menopause. So it's really looking at your caffeine intake and reducing it. And I'm not saying no to coffee, but if you're drinking 10, 11 cups of caffeine a day, be it tea or coffee, that's way too much. So it's basically being mindful of that. And I think also remember that a cup of coffee, a cup of tea is going to dehydrate your body, so you need to replenish that with water. Another one of the biggest issues I would see is that we're not drinking enough water. So it's really making sure that you have water regularly throughout the day, and particularly if you're exercising, to have more water.
So can I jump in there now? I drink green tea. So I drink about 5 cups of that a day, and then I'd kind of end up having quite diluted, really large cups.
Yeah.
That's low enough in caffeine.
Yeah, it would be. Now, if you had an issue with sleep or night sweats and you were having that at, say, after 3 o'clock, then I might say to you, maybe just cut it back and see does it make a difference. It's really kind of looking at tweaking it and seeing what works for you. But caffeine definitely can exacerbate symptoms, and also be aware that with caffeine, if you've got a lot of it in your system, it will impact anxiety without a shadow of a doubt, because everything is a bit more heightened and you're not in the calmer state that you want to be in. So I think it's just being very aware of that. I guess the other thing that I would mention, I know a lot of women are like, oh my God, they don't like to hear this, but alcohol is an issue. And it is an issue in this country. I think it's an issue globally, but I certainly am seeing a lot of the, not just weekend, it's the midweek, I'll have a glass or two of wine. It really isn't helping on a regular basis without to have too much alcohol.
Yes, I was just going to say, so would you say you have to avoid it altogether? Or
no, I mean, look, to me, I guess I'm very much the 80-20 rule, so I will go, if you can be good 80% of the time, then everything in moderation. But I do think when I like red wine, but I'll be honest, I probably have one glass of red wine a week at the weekend with my husband.
Wow.
I don't drink midweek, and I guess I'm seeing a lot of women who are drinking midweek and are drinking more, and I think that is something that we have to be aware of, because again, that will impact anxiety, hot flushes, night sweats, the list goes on.
Okay, so we have avoiding the processed sugar, the processed foods, and the sugar, and the caffeine, and the alcohol.
Yes.
Okay.
So what? Cook from scratch.
Yes.
Cook, eat, nourish, but definitely cook from scratch. I mean, one of the things that I guess I have seen, and it surprises me every single time, when I start talking to an audience about be it food or be it a supplement or something, nobody reads the label. So, you ask someone what does it contain, and it's kind of like taking the time to read labels. If you do it once, it'll probably take you 1-2 minutes that you know what's in an ingredient you're buying. Then you don't have to do it again. You know, like I know, I'll give you an example without naming a brand. You know, people will often ask me about maybe yogurt or something, or a probiotic drink.
Yeah.
And I would just say to them, if you look at the ingredients, you'll find that there's a lot of additives. So that can be sugar or something that basically takes away from any nutritional value that's in, you know this probably better than me even. So, you know, it's just being really aware of what you're eating is so important.
And so what type of foods can we, what are good for us? What's
what
going
are
to
good
benefit?
for us? Vegetables and more vegetables.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm a huge proponent of gut health. So for me, it's about eating the rainbow. So it's not sticking to your carrots, your broccoli, your you know, your potatoes. It's varying it up. So like at the moment, it's eating seasonally. So celeriac, turnip, beetroot. There's loads of fabulous vegetables. I get my vegetables delivered every Wednesday from an organic farmer in Galway, and it's just, the quality is just fantastic. But it means it's seasonal, so that every week we're eating pretty much different, or every month probably we're eating different vegetables, and that's really good for your gut. And your digestion. And I guess just, you know, so fruit and vegetables, I mean, it impacts so much fibre and keeping everything moving in your body. But it's also getting the foods which are called phytoestrogens.
Yeah.
And what they do is they mimic the action of estrogen in the body. So in menopause and perimenopause, our hormones are coming down. I have a teenage son, his hormones are going up, right? So that's puberty. It's the exact reverse in menopause. So so the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone are coming down, and probably the most common ones to reduce are going to be your estrogen and your progesterone. Testosterone is more specific to certain people, how that kind of interacts. But when it comes to the estrogen, you can look at foods which are phytoestrogens that will mimic the action of estrogen. Now, just to be clear, in terms of how they will mimic it, they attach themselves on to estrogen receptors within the body. Now they're never going to be as strong as a synthetic form of estrogen, like hormone replacement therapy, but they are going to get some much needed estrogen into your diet. So that's where you look at like your hummus, your chickpeas, your
lentils, your dals,
your soy, and with soy, just to be very, very careful. Soy gets bad press sometimes. I think the important thing with soy is that it's fermented soy and it's a good source. That's the really important thing if you are using it. I've tried soy milk on so many different occasions, and I just the taste of it just doesn't work for me. But I will have tofu. So it's just kind of incorporating different things like that.
The edamame beans is what I always use. They're fantastic, and
they're brilliant.
Lots of recipes including those.
And I know like Tesco and the Asian supermarkets always have them in the frozen section, and they're brilliant value. So I would. And
they are the pure young soybean unprocessed.
So they're, if you can probably go for anything, they're great to go. Just steam them, don't overcook them, you know, just steam them. You know, other foods that are great are like milled flax seeds, are really, really good. If you could just sprinkle like a tablespoon on your breakfast, if it was porridge or whatever in the morning, or even over a soup.
So I make a flaxseed bread with my menopause cookery demos. So it's like a focaccia style bread.
My kids love pancakes, so when I do the pancakes, I use buckwheat flour, but don't use eggs, but I'll put 2 tablespoons of milled flax seeds. And it's great, you know, obviously to make it thicker. So there's tons of foods out there that can help, and I guess, you know, the other thing, that's kind of from the phytoestrogen perspective, but then it's also getting other good foods into your system that particularly will help your brain. So really there you're talking about the omega-3 foods, and also like nuts and seeds. I mean, nuts and seeds are just, to me, essential. Now I know for some people, maybe if they suffer from kind of yeast and different things, it mightn't be possible, but you know, certainly you could at least, you know, maybe look at sesame seed butter, tahini and things like that, because really the nutritional benefits you get there are just second to none.
That's a great list of foods.
And so then we were talking, you've mentioned on a few symptoms, so we're talking about the hot flushes, the night sweats and the anxiety.
Yeah.
What are some other symptoms maybe?
They're probably the more common
ones.
I mean, I guess anxiety is being more discussed about now. The ones that probably aren't maybe as common would the anxiety, maybe I think people don't realise the different forms of it, and really for me you're looking at 3 forms of anxiety: panic attacks, which people would probably talk about the most, but the other 2 would be health anxiety and social anxiety, and I guess they're 2 areas that aren't as talked about as much as they should be. And what I'm seeing increasingly is the social anxiety, which is basically where all of a sudden you don't feel comfortable going out and meeting your friends or going out somewhere with your partner. All of a sudden it's more comfortable to stay at home and to be in your PJs or relaxed or whatever. And whilst that is lovely and it's important to have the downtime, long term it's detrimental to your mental health, because it's so important that to keep social, to get out and kind of to meet your friends and also to make new connections. Like I run several times a week and I run in a running group, so I'm constantly meeting new people, and it's fantastic because you'll have people coming into your life who are from completely different backgrounds to you, and that challenges your neural pathways, which is so important for brain health. But also menopause on its own can be extremely lonely, and a lot of women can feel isolated. So it's very, very important to keep connections, that you have people that you can talk to, and that you're sharing what's happening, and don't just kind of bottle it all in, because it can become overwhelming very fast. So that would be from the anxiety side. But probably the other symptom that is definitely not talked about enough is vaginal atrophy. And that is basically internal dryness of the vagina, and that will never get better on its own, fact. So you have to be very proactive the minute you start to see any signs of vaginal dryness, that you are acting on it and you're being proactive about it.
And what would that be? Does that mean you need to see the GP?
Yeah. I mean, there's different symptoms that can happen. It can be that all of a sudden maybe you feel you need to go to the toilet more. It might be a sensation like you have thrush, that you feel itchy and inflamed. Please don't self-diagnose as thrush, because that happens a lot, and then women will use maybe Canesten cream or something will actually make it worse. So it's very important that you talk to your GP, that you request a physical examination to make sure, to rule out thrush, and to rule out any other underlying disease. But really the bottom line is that when you're in perimenopause and menopause, our body is becoming drier, the moisture isn't there, the mucous membranes become drier, but what also happens is they become thinner. So by virtue of that, it means that they're more sensitive. So it may be that intercourse is more painful, you might have a bit of spotting afterwards. They are telltale signs that you need to see your GP and put together a plan of action. And that would basically be where you're looking possibly at localized treatment, so that you're tackling it. And then again, you can also help that by looking at omega-7. Very hard to get in your diet, actually, probably impossible.
I don't even know
sea buckthorn oil. And it's really one that any woman that I'm working with who has vaginal atrophy, I would basically say supplement. Because really you're not going to get it. And then, but at the same time, because I've seen women who've gone years without doing anything, I've seen what can happen. It is very, very important to talk to your GP as well.
That's an interesting one.
I guess they're probably for me, they're the ones that we're not talking about enough, that we need to talk about more. Everyone knows about the insomnia, the hot flushes, the night sweats, palpitations. I mean, there's so many symptoms. And the other thing is there is no one size fits all, And
am I right in saying it's almost like if your liver is clogged up with all sorts of different chemicals from your alcohol and your caffeine, your processed food, etc. It that then can't process the kind of surge or change in hormones, and that's why if you have it all healthier, then you will have less symptoms and breeze through.
And that's another, we all forget about our poor livers. Our livers are, to me, they're the superheroes. Our liver is working constantly and doing Trojan work. And like you said, there's so much happening in the liver. It has to process so much every single day that really, we've got to try and help it as much as we can, and support it as much as we can. And I always say to women, simple start there is in the morning, have a cup of warm water with some lemon juice and add some ginger as well. I mean, there's a great start to the day, and your liver will thank you for a start like that, But certainly the liver is under a lot of pressure because of what's happening with the hormones and processing everything that's happening in our bodies. So we need to support that as much as we can.
Okay. Great, so you do lots of different events.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about those, or even some of the campaigns you're involved in?
Yeah, I guess so. At Perimenopause Unplugged are the talks that I do throughout the country, and my last one was in Galway, and I have a few others coming up, probably Dublin, Letterkenny, I think before the summer. So that's one piece.
And what
that I
are
work
they?
on.
So
that's basically where I will just go and talk to women about everything to do with menopause.
And is this like in a central venue or a hotel that people can
generally
book
in a
individually?
hotel, and people can just book on Eventbrite. I publicise those through my social media channels.
Okay.
So that would be one thing. Then I do a lot of corporate work, where I go into workplaces and I talk to employees about menopause, and that's obviously tailored per company. And I do work as well. I do work as well with the health service and the HSC. I guess one of my passions is that I'm getting out every day, or as much as I can, to women in the settled community. But it's the travelling community really don't have somebody talking to them directly about menopause other than their liaison officers. And for them, they have a lot of other issues to try and cover. So that's one area that I'm definitely very, very passionate about. And it's not just the travelling community, it's minority groups. So like next week I'm speaking to an ethnic minority group up here in Dublin. So it's really just being inclusive to all parts of society and trying to help women understand menopause and what it's about. Because whatever challenges we have, their challenges are different, and in some cases can be a lot harder, probably in vast majority of cases. So as much support we can give them, the better. And then I guess the other part then is Make Menopause Matter Ireland, which is basically Diane Danzebrink, who is a huge menopause advocate in the UK, started a campaign, I think over a year ago, called Make Menopause Matter. And the three principles of the campaign are having menopause covered in medical training, so for GPs, etc., that it's part of the actual curriculum when they're in college, as opposed to no, it's an add-on. They do get a few hours, but not much compared to what they should get. It's an add-on, maybe of a weekend training or something, so that it should be part of the training. Also that it's covered more by the Department of Health in terms of just awareness and so forth. And I guess that we're kind of tackling now already, because the Women's Task Force has been set up with the Department of Health and the National Women's Council of Ireland. And what that task force is doing is they're looking at all areas of women's health. And one of the great things was that menopause came up as one of the key areas that women in Ireland wanted addressed. So I've been working with them as one of the stakeholders in terms of various things that can be done to provide greater awareness of menopause. So, and then the other parts of the campaign are having menopause on the curriculum for secondary schools. So at the moment it's 2 lines in the biology syllabus, so we want more. And then the third is menopause in the workplace. So the campaign in Ireland is Make Menopause Matter Ireland, and it's on uplift.ie if people want to sign it. So that will definitely change the landscape of menopause forever in Ireland. It's happening every day. I can see it changing, but this will just
great. Well, we can put a link below here.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then I guess the other then area is our talks are the M word.
Great achievement.
Yeah, that's that. So we did the first M word last October in the Radisson, and there's 3 founders, Aisling Grimley of My Second Spring and Anna Mooney of Osney Media, and myself. So basically, I guess we've been working in the menopause space for a couple of years, and I had started writing blogs and so forth for Aisling on My Second Spring, and we've always kind of talked about doing an event, and Anna was always kind of pushing, for, we need to do this, get going or whatever. So we did. So we did the first one last October, and it was fantastic. Brilliant. We had great speakers, we got great feedback, and it's obviously women are craving the information. So our next one is in the Ballsbridge Hotel on the 8th of May this year.
Brilliant.
And that will be our next one. And we've some fantastic speakers. We've some speakers are the same, but the subjects are completely different. And then we've got some new speakers coming in, like with Dominic Kemp. And Diane Dansbrink is back over with us again, but she's actually going to be talking solely about HRT, because she's an expert in that area, and then also kind of about the psychological aspects of menopause, because that's quite big as well. So yeah, fantastic lineup.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, Catherine, I always ask my guests, can they give me 3 tips that my audience could use now to help improve the health of the nation? So obviously yours are going to be in or around the perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. What would your 3 tips be?
I guess first off, I would say it's the food. It's eating seasonally, getting as much fruit and vegetables into your diet. Drink more water would be number 2.
Yeah.
And number 3 has to be, without a shadow of doubt, is keeping social. I see it every day now, and it's so important. So it's like, if you want to meet a friend for coffee, or you want to go to the cinema, make it happen. Make it happen.
Okay, great. Good tips. And what would you choose as your last meal? Your death row meal?
Yeah, I was thinking about that in the middle of the night last night. I think it's when my mind was churning over things. And you know what? I think for me, I love breakfast.
Okay.
That's my thing. So to be honest, it would be like a buckwheat smoothie bowl. That would be, some buckwheat grouse, yogurts, berries, cinnamon, drizzle of honey. That would be my idea of heaven.
And what would you have to drink with that?
I'd probably have a fresh juice. I'm mad into beetroot juice. So it would probably be, my husband is on a juicing frenzy. Well, he's been probably for about a year, so we do a lot of juicing at home.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would have to be probably beetroot.
Okay, great. Interesting. Would you mind telling my audience how they can get in touch with you? You can. My website is wellnesswarrior.ie, and I'm on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. But so you can kind of follow me on any of those are under wellnesswarrior.ie. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Great, you're welcome.
Thanks for watching today's video with the Wellness Warrior, Catherine O'Keefe. A huge amount of information there. I hope it was really helpful. Please like and comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you get notified of all of my updated videos. And why not check out some of my recipes, like milk kefir, so you're looking after your gut health, or the red lentil dal, so you're getting lentils, some of those phytoestrogens into your diet. Thanks for watching. See you soon.